First, to order by stating Kansas Open Meeting Act guidelines. Due to distance, health, and safety concerns, members of the public are not in attendance at this meeting. However, full access to this meeting is being provided by a medium of interactive communication. This virtual medium will provide members of the public without cost the ability to listen using teleconferencing as available. The agenda for this meeting has been posted on the Kansas Public Square website and may be requested by emailing the Kansas African American Affairs Commission office at kaaac.ks.gov. Each member of the commission, staff, and guests will state their names and title each time they begin speaking or voting so that the individuals can be readily identified by remote listeners. All participants are required to ensure that microphones, telephones, or electronic devices are muted when not speaking so that the ability of remote listeners or observers to hear the meeting is not unnecessarily impeded. A public comment opportunity may be provided at the chairman's discretion at the beginning of each commission meeting. Following the roll call and the chairman's opening comments during this meeting, the commission will not recess to a closed executive session pursuant to KSA 7543-19. Each motion, if any, will be clearly stated and restated before the commission, and the chairperson will announce the results of the final vote. Commissioners and guests, please note that this meeting is being recorded. Thank you and welcome to the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. Time for roll call. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner McRoy.
Present.
Commissioner New. Present. Commissioner Westbrook.
Present.
Commissioner Penn.
Present.
Awesome. I did not have any comments, so I will turn the floor over to Executive Director Nell.
I do want to state that I have heard from Dr. Lewis, Commissioner Lewis, and that he is running late. So I do anticipate him joining, even though he's not here now.
Good deal.
So this is Director New. Director Nell. I sent out the agenda and the minutes. I suppose we should approve the minutes. I guess that's still on you to conduct business.
I'll accept a motion on those minutes.
Commissioner Davis moved to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Commissioner McRoy, second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, please signify your vote yes by raising your hand or saying yes.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
I gotta look at the chat. Okay. So is that, I see that McRoy has raised his hand.
So
okay. Did Westbrook and Commissioner Penn, are those both in the affirmative? I just want to try to make sure.
I say yes.
Okay.
It's Commissioner Westbrook.
Okay, thank you.
Did we hear from Commissioner Penn?
I'm abstaining for the vote, sorry.
Okay. All right. Motion carries. The floor is yours, Executive Director Nell.
Hang on. Okay. The only business we have, I am going to drop in the chat the proposed change, which I also emailed out.
Is this what you want shared?
No, this is it's in the chat what we
Okay.
discussed last time.
Mhm.
We've also emailed out this morning that section 4, the duties and responsibilities of the KAAAC are listed in the statute KSA 74-9905. The commission will determine its strategic focus annually based on the needs of the African American community. And I can very easily, no matter how this is printed, do a hyperlink, because that was the suggestion, to have a hyperlink to what KSA 74-9905, so that's how it will read. It will read with that wording with a hyperlink so that people don't have to necessarily go search out what it says. They can just click and find what it says.
We do.
So I think we need to vote to accept that.
Just.
Are you ready for a motion?
You have your hand up? Oh, yeah, Commissioner Davis.
No, I didn't know if you were asking for a motion at this point or you were
I was
discussing.
just trying to, I'm not in my office, and so I'm only working with one screen, just like, say, I'm in Wichita today, and I was just trying to call up the agenda here on my phone, but as soon as I can't do that now, I will accept a motion.
Yeah, this
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, I move to accept the proposed language change in the bylaws as written in the agenda and is posted on the chat now and just read by the executive director.
It's been, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Westbrook, I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Great. Please signify your vote by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
McBoy. No. Commissioner Penn, are you abstaining or are you voting?
I'm abstaining.
Motion carries. Floor is yours again, Executive Director Nell.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, without a stated
Your Davis.
reason for an abstention, silence would be considered an affirmative vote.
I don't know. I really don't know.
No,
We'll have to
no.
get,
Sir, would not.
Is there a reason for the abstention?
I wasn't present at the last meeting.
Okay.
okay.
So the new business would be moving through the bylaws. So hang on, I too am working with just my laptop today.
There we go. All right. Updating the bylaws.
Okay, so here's where we're at. Now, I am going to share. Oops, hang on. Does everyone have their bylaws in front of them? That's what I should ask. If everyone has their bylaws in front of them.
Have the agenda.
Okay, here we go. Everyone's looking at the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's where we're at. We're at section 5, commissioners. Everything in 5.1 to 5.6 is in the statute in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So we could handle sections 5.1 through 5.6 like we handled it previously, stating this is in the statute and I can hyperlink to where it is. Does that make sense? Like that's one option.
This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, you might unpack that a little bit. Why would you want to have a hyperlink there, for example?
Well, I think
having the hyperlink, because that was what we discussed at the last meeting.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue is that when I talked to legal, the governor's office legal said, we're undertaking this. So do you have any suggestions? Legal standpoint was there is no reason to state in the bylaws what's in the statute because it's in the statute. We could refer to the statute and, I think that's a very good way to do it. Say it's in the statute and then put a hyperlink. Because whether this is a document that's online or if it's on the website, if you put a hyperlink, it gets very easy to get to the statute. But there's no need to literally verbatim write it again.
Okay.
I suppose it's just an issue of opinion, right?
Well,
But
Mr. Chair, again, I'm not sure anybody wants to volunteer to do any work that we don't need to do. Yes, Commissioner Davis, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Commissioner Davis, I think the logic we use for section 4 is perfect logic to streamline the bylaws and reference it exactly the way you did. Because our bylaws aren't going to change what's in the statute. I mean, we're not going to supersede it.
right.
We're stuck with those until the statutes change. So, and you know, if anyone is needing that nitty gritty amount of information about how we're constructed, and you know, they probably should go to the statute.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I agree. Any other discussion about this? Executive Director Nell, were you about to say something?
Well, no, I was gonna just enumerate that specifically. I'm gonna try to see if I can. Okay. Specifically, sections 5.1 through 5.5, dealing with the number of commissioners, the appointment of commissioners, party affiliation, congressional district representation, and vacancies, is contained in 74-9002. And 5.6 is contained in 74-9003, subsection C. So just to make it clear that that's where it's all covered, and it's lifted like essentially word for word from the statute.
Mhm.
That's I was going to just clarify that's when I say it's covered in the statute, that's exactly where it's covered in the statute.
Got you. And so we need to vote on whether or not we accept this change, correct? Mr. Chair. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yep. When you started, Director Nell, you said 5.1 to 5.6. Is 5.7 also in the statute?
No.
That's not okay. So we'd have to end at 5.6. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the chair. Any other questions on this particular point?
Yes, just this is Commissioner Penn. I'm just asking, are we voting to change it or to keep it the same? Because it's in the statute, right?
Executive Director Nell.
We're just we're only talking about amending the bylaws. We cannot change the statute. But because the bylaws right now enumerate 5.1.56, this is where, I'm asking for what the wording shall be. Like, for example, when we covered this with section 4, we said the duties and responsibilities of KAAC are listed in the statute,
Mm-hmm.
So we could have a similar language saying, the appointment of commissioners, because it covers a couple things. The appointment of commissioners is covered in the statute. Like, that's what I'm trying. We don't have to put this in here. We could say the appointment of commissioners is covered in the statute, because that's where it covers the number, who has appointing power, their party affiliation, where congressional district they come from. Or we could leave it out completely and go straight to the responsibilities.
Okay. This is the chair recognizing Commissioner McRoy.
This is Commissioner McRoy. I think what Commissioner Penn meant is, I think she may be asking if we were going to change it and it's not going to match what's in the statute. But I think what she's wanting to know, and what I think we're discussing, is linking those items to the statute and not rewriting it in the bylaws, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir, that is. Thank you.
Okay.
This is the chair. Thank you for that clarification. This Executive Director Nell, is that accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I
Okay,
just don't know what the wording should be.
Okay. Are there any suggestions from commissioners about that wording? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, I think what was just stated, the appointment of commissioners is covered in the statute. I mean, just keep it simple, because all those 6 articles do refer to the appointment process.
This is the chair. Any discussion about that recommendation from any of the commissioners? How does that sound, Executive Director No?
I think that's fine. I am typing. Okay, it was 74. What did I say? 74-9002. No, 9902 and 74-9903 C. It's going to give me a copyright thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to
There a
drop
way-
proposed.
Is there a
I'm
way
gonna-
we can share that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to drop proposed language and into the chat with the understanding that where it has there we go. Oop, I forgot my close parentheses. Where it says KSA 74-9002, it'll be a hyperlink. And 74-9003, it'll be a hyperlink. Like that's an easy thing to do. And imagine
So this-
close parentheses. I'm typing fast and
This is the chair. Any discussion about the wording here? We good? Are we good? Are we good, Executive Director No?
I mean, y'all have to vote, I guess. And there I put the close parentheses in just to indicate that that's yes. I mean,
Commissioner McRoy has his hand up.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner McRoy, Executive Director Nell, can you just repeat the language we're going to use? And I think that way it'll be fresh in our minds for maybe a motion.
can you see the chat? It's in the chat. The appointments process for commissioners is addressed in KSA 74-9002 and 74-9003.
This Commissioner McRoy, I would make the motion then to accept that language because it's not changing the statute. It's just referring us to the statute.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, second, it's Commissioner Davis.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Great. Please signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Motion carried.
Was that unanimous?
Yep.
Yes.
Looks like it anyway. Commissioner Penn, are you voting or was your hand up?
I was voting.
Okay, thank you. My bad.
Okay. The next part becomes. All right. Are we looking at, we're here for screen?
Yes. I can see it. Can everyone else?
5.7 is not covered in statute. 5.8 is kind of it. 5.8 is covered in statute because it deals with the vacancies is covered in the statute. 5.9 is not covered in statute. So it's like this weird back and forth. So I think at this point, since we've referred, here's my suggestion. Since we've referred back to the statute, which will have the stuff on vacancy, we probably don't need to, well, I don't know. This is the discussion point. We probably don't need to say anything about vacancy because it's covered in the statute, how vacancies are appointed. The appointing body has the ability to, whatever appointed person has the ability to fill the vacancies. Does that make sense? That's covered in the statute. So I don't know if 5.8 needs to be there at all because we've already linked back to the statute. But 5.7 and 5.9 are not addressed in the statute at all. So that's where we really need.
Are there suggested edits that you have for section 5.7 and section 5.9? 5.7 . 5.7 is not covered in statute. 5.8 is covered in statute. 5.9 is not covered in statute. 5.7 and 5.9 are not addressed in the statute. So that's where we really. Are there suggested edits that you have for section 5.7 and section 5.9?
this is one where this is, you know, and whether this is a good idea or not, this is where I really want to have discussion. Because any suggested edits I have would just be one person and I'm not even on the commission. So like, for example, the responsibilities say that you have to attend 4 meetings or at least half of or 4 meetings, right? This is where, you know, serve on one committee. Like these are not bad ideas. I'm just,
Mhm.
do you want to be held to them, right? Like I think they're perfectly fine. I mean, I think the part about resignation, this idea that if you miss 3 meetings, you're automatically off. Like, I mean, like I think that's up for discussion. Like, I think that's why I just wanted to, you know, we need to just refresh these. And I wanted people to be able to talk through, are you okay with these? Do you want to change them?
I got you.
I'm not
This is
sure I
the
have a
chair.
strong opinion on it either way.
This is the chair, recognizing, Commissioner Davis. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, Commissioner David. Regarding the vacancies, if section 5.5, if that's taken verbatim from the statute, then 5.8 does add one more caveat in that the body who appointed that commissioner is the one who appoints the replacement. 5.5 doesn't actually state that specifically.
The original appointing authority for the balance shall fill vacancies. The thing is that is that's in the statute.
Because if the statute expressly states what 5.8 states, then we need to include 5.8 in what we did with 5.1 to 5.6.
Okay.
No reason to restate it. But the only difference between the two is that 5.8 guarantees that the person who appointed the first commissioner will be the one who appoints the replacement.
This is the chair.
5.5 on its own doesn't say that, but it probably is implied.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Davis. I was trying to recognize, Commissioner McRoy. Pardon me.
Actually, you know what? See, this is crazy. So here's the actual statute. No more than 4 members shall be, you know what, okay, no more than 4 members shall be members of the same political party. Each congressional district in the state of Kansas shall be represented on the advisory commission by at least 1 member who's a resident of the district at the time of the appointment. Appointing authorities shall consult each other to assure effectuation of the foregoing requirement. A person appointed to fill a vacancy which occurs prior to the expiration of term shall be appointed to the unexpired term. Except as provided by each member of the commission shall be appointed for a 3-year term until a successor is appointed and qualified. So I guess, you know what, maybe this doesn't include the stipulation of who appoints the replacement. It's not in statute who appoints the replacement. I mean, the way it has happened is that, for example, that like the Senate president appointed Elmore's position. So when Elmore resigned, the Senate president appointed the replacement, which makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So I mean, but apparently it does not enumerate in the statute who actually.
This is the chair. Commissioner McRoy, were you trying to get in?
Yes, this is Commissioner McRoy. It also makes me wonder if there's protections in there for members of the National Guard or Reserve if they have to deploy for that length of time. What happens to their spot?
This is the chair. I mean, that's why we're having this discussion. That's a great question. I would not be inclined to penalize anyone who's serving the country. So that it would be my wish that people serving our country could be excused if they're deployed or meeting whatever monthly duty that they have. How does that sound, Commissioner McRoy?
This is Commissioner McRoy. I think that it would be our due diligence to actually write that in.
Yeah.
That, you know, that write in a protection for them just in case it's not covered by some other statute somewhere.
This is the chair. Could you offer us some verbiage to start with?
Say maybe something to the effect of, and Commissioner Penn, please help me out on this one. Maybe something to the effect of, if a serving commissioner is called to active duty, their spot is reserved until they return. But then again, how does that impact our operations as a group, right? Like if we're in a vote and things like that. So is it that, they let their appointer know within so much time of the deployment? But then that seems like it would be a statutory requirement. But
The
I-
chair.
Yes.
sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Commissioner Penn. So just looking at how the federal law is, SSCRA actually protects active duty or reservist or National Guard when they vacate a position in an employment, in a frame of employment. I don't know how it works for volunteering. I think that would be up to the commissioning source in this regard. So whoever appointed the person that vacated the seat due to their military service, that would probably be up to him or her how they're going to deal with that. But I'm not sure as far as the law is concerned, but I would imagine that they would most likely either get somebody in interim, or I don't think they would replace anybody in that case.
This is the chair. I concur with that. And to Commissioner McRoy, I would just like to offer a blanket excusal for anybody who's serving our country in that way. Commissioner Davis, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to offer the same thing. We could say that the attendance requirements shall be waived for anyone deployed. Yeah, and that individual, certainly, if they know they're gone for 3 years, has the option certainly of relinquishing their position voluntarily. But we would not have a mandatory imposition.
This is the chair. Given what Commissioner Penn just said, I agree with her that the person or body that appointed that person, that responsibility would fall back to them. Did I see a hand up just now? Yes, Commissioner McRoy.
This is Commissioner McRoy. It makes me curious also, though, about, if the person who was your nominator, if they, what makes that person give you back your seat when you come back if it's not written anywhere?
Well, the point I'm making is that we should just offer an excusal for anybody who's serving, so that wouldn't be an issue.
But then what happens when we're locked into a tie vote?
That is a good question.
Okay, let me see.
Oh, Commissioner Davis, you have your hand up.
Commissioner, that means you go back and you discuss it some more. If the motion's made and it's a tie vote, it doesn't pass. That just means we have to understand each other a little bit better.
Commissioner
Can you see
McRoy,
this? I'm sorry, can you see the statute right now? What do you look?
small.
Okay. But I just want to see, because this idea of if a person is deployed, what did Commissioner McRoy just say? If a person is deployed,
If this Commissioner McRoy, if a sitting commissioner is called to active duty and they're a member of the National Guard or Reserve, they're going to be in Southeast Asia for 9 months. Then, what about when they come back?
Okay, the statute says nothing about that. So I don't know. The statute doesn't cover anything close to that. That's why I'm like, well, I knew it didn't say anything about, deployment of members or anything like that.
Yeah, this is the chair. That's a tough question, Commissioner McRoy.
This Commissioner,
I just don't want anyone penalized because they're serving the country.
This is Commissioner McRoy. What I think also is we can also ask the legal department, and we don't have to vote on it at the moment. Maybe it's that, we ask the question to legal and see what their perspective is on that, and then we're in a better position to discuss it some more. I don't think it should be off the table, but I think it is something that we need to consider. How do we dispense with this type of challenge? Because it may come up in the future.
Mhm. Wow.
Good idea.
Okay, this is Director Nell. So we don't particularly have to solve this right now. We can come back to it and try to continue working with Section 5 to get through the rest of the stuff, maybe with Section 5. I can check with legal to see if they have any advice on handling that. And at our
Okay.
next meeting, I can report back what legal has advised, because it's not covered in the statute at all.
This is the chair. I like Commissioner Davis's suggestion that we waive any penalty. And if that person, maybe the clock stops when that person leaves and resumes when they return. Maybe that's a suggestion that you could make to the legal department, Executive Director Nell, about how we would like to alter that piece, that there's a general waiver. You can't be kicked off because you're serving your country. The clock would stop on your 3-year term of service until you returned. How does that sound, commissioners and executive director? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, I like that, and I think most folks will have an idea of whether they want to resume their duties when they get back, or if they know ahead of time, all things considered, it's better for you if you replace me. Certainly the individual commissioner is going to have some input into what should happen, but certainly if a commissioner wants to return, I think waiving the attendance requirement is certainly reasonable. And I'm guessing, legal has encountered this in some situation and probably would have to bounce whatever we decide off them anyway. So you might as well get them involved up front.
The chair recognizes Commissioner McRoy.
This is Commissioner McRoy, and I don't know if this needs to be a motion, but I move to table this until we get further guidance from legal, and then we can take it back up at the next meeting.
This is the chair. I like that suggestion. I'll accept that motion. Is there a second? This is about tabling this and coming back to it. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Great. Please signify your vote aye by raising your hand or saying yes.
Okay, so the motion is that we're gonna table this question of vacancies. I'm gonna ask legal if they have any advice. I'm sure I agree. I'm sorry, this is executive direction now. I'm sure they've encountered this at some point. If they have any good language to address this, and we will come back specifically to the question of vacancies next meeting. Okay.
This is the chair. What do you got next?
Oh, okie dokie. We're clipping right along. Resignation. Currently, the way the bylaws state resignation, KAAAC commissioners who find themselves unable for a period of time, which is defined as 3 meetings of the commission, or more than 50% of such meetings during any calendar year, shall be deemed to have resigned from the commission effective immediately. So I was like, well, that's interesting. But the statute says nothing about how, interestingly enough, the statute says nothing about how one leaves this commission. There's nothing in the statute about how one leaves. I mean, I think it's just a letter of resignation, but yeah, it's not covered.
This is the chair. This is a problematic section for me, because it's assuming that we're only having that limited number of meetings per year when we've agreed to meet monthly. It almost begs some sort of an adjustment that acknowledges how we're meeting more often. Is that number 3 a good number based on how often we meet? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, if we decide on 3, I think, when you look at an extended period of time, I think the word consecutive needs to be in there. It's one thing to miss 3 meetings out of 12. It's another thing, to miss 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, that would suggest disinterest or just a poor match with the commission schedule. But I think somewhere in there the word consecutive needs to be. And we might want to address, should, the president should, or the chair should meet with that person regarding attendance before an automatic resignation is assumed. I don't know how you work that into bylaw language, but.
Is the chair, that's an interesting suggestion. I think consecutive, if you miss 3 consecutive meetings under how we were meeting before, you'd miss all but 1 meeting in a year.
True.
That's before we were meeting monthly. Any thoughts from the other commissioners about this particular point? Not all at once.
I definitely agree with what the chair was saying about the vacancy, like the 3 meetings. It wasn't really clear if it's consecutively, but that was also done in regard to quarterly meetings that wasn't done in person. Now that we do monthly meetings, I just have a question. How long are we going to continue doing monthly meetings? Are we going to go back to quarterly and try again to do the, I'm sorry, are we going to keep doing monthly meetings? Are we going to resume going back to quarterly and go in-person meetings?
This is the chair. That's a great question, Commissioner Penn. If memory serves me right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Executive Director, but the idea of meeting monthly had everything to do with being able to respond to whatever came up in the legislature, and then being able to testify as we might be needed. Yes, Commissioner McRoy.
This is Commissioner McRoy. So what if we considered a rule that forced us to have a majority vote to change the frequencies of our meetings, and that would give us a little more control to do that through deliberative process?
This is the chair. I'm not sure I'm following you on that. Could you clarify?
So let's say if we're meeting quarterly, but we feel like we need to meet monthly, then we can take a vote to do that.
I see.
Well, but the question is, never mind, I just thought about this. The question is how we do that vote without violating KAAAC guidelines. So think about that some more.
Okay. The chair recognizes Commissioner Lewis.
Hello, it's Commissioner Lewis. I think that's something we can address when we get to section Article 8 that talks about meetings, and it just indicates that we should meet at least 4 times. And so I think we may address that if necessary in the meeting section. But as it relates to the monthly meetings, I would be a proponent of meeting monthly. There's too much work to be done, in my opinion, for us to just meet quarterly.
And this is the chair. Did you have any thoughts, Commissioner Lewis, on Commissioner Davis's suggestion that we insert the word consecutive? 3 consecutive meetings is, I agree with him. That's a lot of absence.
Mm-hmm. Is Commissioner Lewis, is that with the understanding that these 3 consecutive absences have also gone with no communication with the executive director or the chair?
Commissioner Davis, did you have a response to that?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to add in something that sometimes is used in school classrooms: unexcused absences. Right, because it's possible somebody could be sick, traveling. I mean, and they're keeping up with the work, but contributing, but they just couldn't make a meeting for a little stretch. But everyone knows that they're there and involved. It works for school. I guess it could work for us.
This is the chair. I think those are great suggestions. Yes, Commissioner McRoy.
Commissioner McRoy, and also along with that, we offer multiple modes of attendance, and you could be online or in person if we go to that. So
This is the chair again. So we would insert the word consecutive, but also unexcused. And unexcused would be kind of an umbrella term for just being not in communication with the chair or the executive director for 3 straight meetings. Does that sound fair to the commissioners?
Yes.
Hang on, there's more. This is Executive Director now. Can everyone see the chat? Because right now I've made changes, but it doesn't address the entire sentence. So here's the changes so far. We're not done. KAAC commissioners who find themselves unable for a period define as 3 consecutive unexcused meetings of the commission. And here now we need to start picking up discussion again, or more than 50% of such meetings during any calendar year. Like, do we need to say that? Because again, this 3 was based on 4 meetings. 50% would be, if someone misses 50% of 12, they're well over 3. So do we need to take out 50%? Do you want to just leave it at 3 consecutive unexcused meetings? And then we can deal with, is that considered resigning on the spot, or like because I was like, dang, that's some harsh language there to say you're done right then. So right now I've made the adjustments that defined as 3 consecutive unexcused meetings. So now the rest of the sentence there needs to be addressed.
This is the chair. Any thoughts about the balance of that clause? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're supposed to be considered adult and responsible and not need to go through this, but is there a way to get the president or the chair involved? I hate to use the word probation or some status, where the chair investigates what's going on to see if there's continued interest, or to but if you don't have some teeth in it, just goes on. They come to one meeting and don't come to the next 5. They come to one, don't come to the next 6. I mean, it's or whether you just have to set a high bar of expectation and move on. I'm just opening it up as a rhetorical question.
This is the chair. All these questions are great questions, and I like the way that we're discussing everything here. I don't know. I think the point that you're making might be addressed with the inclusion of the word unexcused. I think that covers us there. Commissioners, what do you think about that? Do you feel like including the word unexcused covers the point that Commissioner Davis was raising? Any thoughts on that, please?
this is Commissioner McRoy. I think that covers it.
This is the chair. Are you clear on that, Executive Director Nell?
Yes, this is Director Nell. The question still remains what to do. Oh, I see Commissioner Lewis just put his hand up with this notion of, or more than 50% of the meetings during the calendar year. And does that, if you do have these 3 unexcused consecutive are you out immediately? Because right now it says effective immediately. So that, to me, when I read that, I would be like, if you have missed your 3rd meeting unexcused consecutively, you are deemed resigned. So
if it's unexcused, this is the chair. I'm sorry.
Yes.
If it's unexcused.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, yes, sir.
Yeah, Commissioner Davis, I think the word unexcused gives the chair a wide latitude to determine for the rest of us if this person is still engaged.
Mm-hmm. This is the chair. I think that's fair. Commissioners Westbrook, Penn, any thoughts on this as well?
Just Commissioner Westbrook, no thoughts.
Yes, Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, this is Commissioner Lewis. I definitely want to keep the 50% of the meetings in there, because it's still possible for someone to attend 2 meetings, miss 1, attend 2 meetings, miss 1. So not violate the first half and only attend 4 meetings in a year, which is, more than. So I would like to keep that.
Okay.
In which means they will miss more than 50% of the
Yeah,
meetings.
this is the chair. I think that's a good suggestion. I would much rather have the latitude to deal with this than not have the latitude to deal with this. So I would tend to agree. It would be good to keep that 50% in there. And we may need it, we may not need it, but I would like to have it there just in case. But then again, the chair shouldn't be a cop, for the commission. We should be on the commission because we want to serve. So, where does that leave us, Executive Director Nell?
This is Director Nell. The last bit is if let's say this person does they have either missed over 50% or they have missed 3 consecutive unexcused, are they deemed to have resigned immediately? That's the last little bit of that sentence.
I see. This is the chair. Again, consecutive, unexcused is a good bar, I think. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis. Yeah, they say never make an if-then statement unless you're prepared to back up. And we put an if in there, so you got to have a then. And that's the then. Unless you want to put in probation and counseling, all the other stuff. But at our level of involvement, we shouldn't need that.
No. So I will, if there's any, okay. Yes, Commissioner Penn.
Yes, sir. So the only thing I'm concerned with is that we've elevated the number of times in which we have to meet, which no longer is 4, but it's 12. And so we're still operating too in that regard where it's 4 meetings and you miss, I want to say 2 or 3 of them a year. Now we're saying if we miss 3 of the 12, when it used to be 4, I'm just wondering if that's fair. I know you guys were kind of talking about it. I didn't want to interrupt if you guys were discussing it, but should we just I want to keep it at 50%, because if there's something going on, if we're, I don't want to discount any commissioners, because I think we have commissioners in the past that's probably missed a few of them, but I don't want to disregard them or have them be forcefully resignated if there is, if we're meeting more often than 4 times a year.
This is the chair. I think, Commissioner Penn, that if we're meeting monthly, the 50% mark is 6 meetings or 3 consecutive unexcused meetings missed. Does that help at all with the question that you just posed?
Yeah, it does. And I just wanted to stick to what they had there before, because there's a reason why they had 50% for 4 meetings a year. So I didn't want to up the ante by saying 3 consecutive ones. If we're missing, and if now we're meeting, I want to say twice as much. Like, what's the math? 3 times as much. So can we keep it at 50%? What it says right there?
As opposed to, well, I guess what I'm asking, Commissioner Penn, this is the chair. Do you want to remove the 3 consecutive unexcused language and then just go with the 50%? I just want to be clear on the point you're making.
I don't know. I'm not great at algebra. I'm trying to hack it out with my son right now, but I was just doing the simple math, and I'm like, hey, 3 missed meetings out of 4 out of the quarterly meetings was 75%. Now we're saying 3 out of 12. That's not 3/4 of the year.
This is the Director Nell, but it's not 3 missed meetings. It's 3 consecutive unexcused. So that would be if a person just AWOLs for 3 in a row and doesn't make any attempt to say, oh, this is going on, life has happened, I'm not going to make it. Because there have been times when people have not made it and they've contacted me saying, I'm not going to make it, right? Like, so I think it's not just a person misses 3 meetings and they're resigned. It's 3 consecutive with no contact to the chair or the executive director, which is a little different than 3. I think, that would allow for a person to have 3 in a row where they're like, I was in the hospital, my car, like whatever, like, but if they have any kind of contact, that would be an excused absence. So it's not just that if you miss 3, you're off. It's the consecutive unexcused. Because I think you could even the way it's worded now, a person could miss 3 in a row But if they're excused, then they're fine.
This is the chair. Does that make sense, Commissioner Penn?
Yes, sir, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Davis, you had your hand up.
Yes, Commissioner Davis, I was just going to say kind of the same thing. You may have a very effective commissioner who's doing a town hall, going to meetings, representing us, but kid gets sick, they get sick, traveling. But as long as they're communicating, I mean, they're an integral part of the committee. But I think the term AWOL is the perfect term. Somebody's just vanishes. You know, they probably aren't going to be helping us much anyway.
This is the chair. Any other discussion on this particular point as we approach our time boundary? If not, I will accept a motion.
Hang on, this is the executive director now. I don't think we've discussed adequately this notion of they're resigned effective immediately. I just want to make sure that we talk about this notion that if that third meeting happens where the person is gone and they haven't said anything, like they haven't talked to the chair or haven't talked to the director, are they considered resigned immediately? I just want to make sure that there's clarity on that last little 2 words.
This is the chair. I would say yes, with the caveats of what we added.
Okay.
To the paragraph, consecutive, unexcused.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner, yeah, if you don't have that, then you're gonna have to replace it with something else. And that we just set the bar high and keep it there.
Yeah, and again, if this is the chair, if someone's communicating with us, you'll be fine. It's just 3 consecutive unexcused. And thanks for the good work on that, commissioners. That's I think we worked that out. I will accept a motion for the acceptance of this alteration of the bylaw. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, this is Director Nell. Give me 1 second to type up exactly how it's going to say. Well, right now it's section 5.9. That number may have to change because the vacancies is moving. So section 5, I'm going to read it to you, then I'll put it in the chat. Section 5.9, resignation. Hyphen. KAAC commissioners who find themselves unable for a period, and I don't know, parenthetically, do we need to say defined as 3 consecutive unexcused meetings of the commission or more than 50% of such meetings during any calendar year shall be deemed to have resigned from the commission effective immediately. And then let me put that in the chat so we can all look at it and agree.
This is the chair, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I hope that what's on the screen doesn't change much from what I'm about to. Okay, there I can read that. I move to amend section 5.9 of our bylaws regarding resignation. KAAC commissioners who find themselves unable for a period defined as 3 consecutive unexcused meetings of the commission or more than 50% of such meetings during any calendar year shall be deemed to resign from the commission effective immediately.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Lewis, I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay. Please signify your vote by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Motion carries. Got through quite a bit today.
Now, I was going to say, I could type that down. Sorry, this is Director Now. I could type that down as unanimous, but Dr. New,
she said
I
that
know she had indicated that she was fine with the previous change, but with this, should I indicate that she didn't vote? Like it's unanimous, she's driving, so I don't know if she's seen the chat. I don't know if she's.
Hi, I'm listening. This is Commissioner New. I am listening and I agree with the change in language. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
This is the chair. That brings us to the end of the work. We were going to try and do this session correct. Executive Director, no?
Yeah, and we only have 3 minutes left, so it's not like we can, but yes, so yes, we covered a lot.
Okay. So we have tabled one portion that we will take up during the next meeting, Executive Director Nell.
Yes.
Given that, and just like to congratulate the commission for the good work here. The insertion of those words, we are plugging right along. I'm looking forward to the next meeting. Anything else from the commissioners? Anything else anyone would like to mention?
I do have to mention something because our next meeting will take place in April. So we need to at least toss this out here because according to our bylaws, we have to have election for chair and secretary in the last meeting before the end of the fiscal year. So that would mean if we're meeting monthly, that would mean May. In May, we will, so now I'm giving you a couple months warning. In May, the May meeting, we will need to have election of officers. Now, if we can get through that section to deal with what election of officers looks like before we have the election of officers, then we can, do you know what I mean? Like we can address that. So I just want to put that out there that right now, according to what we're doing in our May meeting, if we meet in May, we need to have election of officers. So just.
But, oh, this is Commissioner Penn. You said the fiscal year, but the fiscal year ends in September, October, right?
June.
We have
the state fiscal year ends in June 30th.
so the state fiscal year.
We're a state agency. So we're running on the state fiscal year. Okay.
This is the chair. Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
No, I clicked before you had offered the opportunity. I was simply going to move to adjourn, but only if the chair was ready.
I am ready. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't cutting anyone off. And if there is no more discussion, I will accept that motion from Commissioner Davis. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Commissioner McRoy seconds.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Great. Signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Motion carried. Great meeting, commissioners. Great meeting. Thank you all for your input.
Yeah. Bye.
I'll see you next month. Take care.